1 month following my daughter's wedding, the photographer reached out and murmured, "Ma'am, I've seen something awful in the images. Please come right away by yourself and keep it from your daughter." The phone buzzed right as I set down my tea. It was a Wednesday morning, the home silent. Spreadsheets for quarterly earnings lay across my workspace. The sort of serene instant I'd worked hard for over 4 decades establishing Rivers Boutique, with 3 locations throughout Tucson. Solid enterprise, fulfilling existence. I nearly ignored the unfamiliar caller. "Ms. Rivers." The man's voice quivered. "This is Rochelle Simmons speaking. I photographed Aisha's wedding last month. I need to see you immediately, and alone. Please don't mention this to your daughter." My fingers tightened around the phone. "What's going on?" "I can't explain over the phone," she said quietly, "but I found something in the pictures, something serious." The air in my office seemed to thicken around me. It felt suddenly heavier. "What kind of thing?" "Come to my studio downtown tomorrow at 10 a.m. Please, Ms. Rivers, come by yourself." Before I could respond, Tiffany's voice pierced the silence from the den. "Mom, I've told you 4 times already I need the car. That old Toyota is embarrassing. You promised you'd talk to her today." From the living room, Terrence let out a loud laugh, some reality show chattering in the background. "I'll be there," I said into the phone, barely aware I'd spoken. Rochelle exhaled. "Thank you, and I'm truly sorry, Ms. Rivers." Then the line went dead. I remained still at my desk, the device pressed to my ear, gazing at the framed picture on my shelf, Aisha in her bridal gown beaming. Javion next to her in his suit. 1 month prior, $70,000 I'd invested in that occasion. Valuable for witnessing my oldest daughter joyful. Something gravely important in the snapshots. "Mama." Tiffany materialized in my entrance, smartphone in one palm, purse in the other. "Did you catch that? I need funds for a fresh car. The Toyota is 8 years old and it's degrading." I regarded my youngest child, 32 years old, residing in my residence for 5 years now. Temporarily, she'd claimed after her separation. Terrence had joined 7 months afterward. "No payments, no departure plan. We'll address it shortly, dear." "Shortly?" "I must visit the lot this week. Kendra acquired a new BMW, and I can't continue arriving in that relic." I pivoted back to my monitor. The figures smeared. "Mama, are you paying attention?" "Shortly, Tiffany." She snorted and vanished. Her strides pounded down the hall. A cabinet banged. I lifted my tea, chilled now. Through my study pane, the Catalina foothills dawn extended vivid and clear. August warmth already mounting. All appeared ordinary, felt off, the hours dragged. I attempted concentrating on stock assessments, fiscal forecasts, staff timetables. My thoughts repeatedly returned to Rochelle's shaky tone. The nuptials had been flawless, right? Aisha had shown. Javian had been devoted. The ritual at the Desert Preserve, celebration at that luxurious hotel, all refined, elegant, costly. What could conceivably be amiss with the pictures? Near midday, Terrence sauntered into my study unannounced. Never announced. Simply entered as if it were his domain. "Hey, Ma, Tiffany mentions you're acting odd about the car matter." I didn't glance up from my screen. I stated we'd converse later. "Yeah, but she's quite determined. Perhaps just provide the cash, maintain harmony." He reclined against my frame, limbs folded. 39 years old, unemployed. Surviving on my daughter's stipend, which equated to surviving on me. "Terrence, I'm occupied." Of course. Merely suggesting. Content partner, content existence, correct? He smirked and departed. Content partner. He'd never wed Tiffany. 5 years as a couple, dwelling in my abode, and he couldn't trouble himself to formalize it. Yet he held views on my expenditures. I rose and approached my window. Beneath, my garden bloomed untended. The casita where Tiffany and Terrence resided perched at the property's boundary. Independent access, complete cooking area, 2 sleeping quarters. I'd constructed it, envisioning visiting grandkids utilizing it eventually. No grandkids, merely Tiffany and Terrence. The afternoon merged into dusk. I warmed residual stir-fry, dined solo at my island while Terrence dominated my family room, and Tiffany chatted via video upstairs, her giggles penetrating the floor. At 8:00 p.m., my chime sounded. Aisha appeared on my stoop, impeccable as ever, fitted jacket, high-end slacks, that grin she'd gotten from her father, my eldest, my accomplished one, public relations director. Lovely condo, well, rental presently, we to Javian Hayes, portfolio manager. "Hello, Mama." She pecked my face and strode inside past me. I was nearby, Figured I'd drop in. Catalina Foothills to her spot in Oro Valley wasn't nearby, but I omitted mentioning it. She perched on my settee, legs crossed, surveyed the space like evaluating it. How's life? You seem weary. Extended day, company affairs. She grasped a framed snapshot from my end table. Her and Tiffany as kids, examined it, placed it back marginally askew. Javion and I have been property scouting. We discovered this amazing spot in Oro Valley. 5 bedrooms, spa, valley vistas. Utterly ideal. I settled in the armchair opposite, anticipated. The issue is, we must act swiftly. Market's fierce currently. We require assistance with the initial payment. She beamed affectionately. 45,000 $45,000? Je vais fond, son. You get it, yes? After all you allocated for the nuptials, this merely finalizes the vision, aiding us launch our union correctly. $45,000 uttered as if requesting to use my keys. Something in my core constricted. That vacant sensation from before grew. 45,000, I echoed. Is that an obstacle? A faint sharpness infused her tone, so faint most wouldn't detect it. Mama, we must act swiftly. The market's fierce. I believed you'd desire to assist us, begin our union correctly. I observed my daughter, truly observed her. The luxury attire, the polished fingertips, the rehearsed affection that fell short of her gaze. Allow me to ponder it, honey. Her beam wavered briefly. Ponder it? Mama, this matters. Javion and I must examine some items first. She rose suddenly. Okay, but don't delay. We can't forfeit this property. She seized her bag, pecked my face anew, cooler now. Adore you, Mama. Contact me soon. I observed her Audi depart, positioned in my threshold. $45,000 presented as if I'd already consented, as if my funds were hers. Terrence's mirth resounded from the family room, game recaps on my screen, his soda can condensing on my sideboard. I re-entered, but something had altered. The residence sensed altered. Or perhaps I was perceiving it accurately for the initial time. My device rested on the foyer console where I'd placed it. Rochelle's digits still in the history. Tomorrow morning, her workshop. Whatever she'd detected in those wedding images, I sensed it would clarify this vacant ache expanding in my torso. I retrieved the device and viewed Aisha's recent message. Appreciate comprehending about the property, Mama. Adore you. I hadn't consented to anything, yet she'd presumed. They all presumed. I departed the residence prior to Tiffany arising. Didn't desire inquiries, didn't desire Terrence questioning my destination with that expression he adopted, as if all I did necessitated his sanction in my own dwelling. The journey to central Tucson consumed 30 minutes. Wednesday morning congestion, Route 77 south, then local roads to Rochelle's workshop. A repurposed loft in the creative quarter, her title on a silver plaque by the entrance. My palms were firm on the wheel, but my intellect kept replaying his quivering tone, something gravely important. I stationed opposite, lingered in the SUV momentarily. Whatever awaited in that workshop, whatever Rochelle had uncovered, it would elucidate Aisha's nonchalant plea for $45,000. It would elucidate the vacant sensation I'd harbored since the nuptials. I knew it would. I simply didn't wish to comprehend how. The workshop scented of espresso and developing fluid. Expert portraits adorned the partitions. Unions, kin, executive portraits. Rochelle greeted me at the portal, younger than I'd recalled from the event. Late 40s, perhaps. Anxious gestures, regretful gaze. Ms. Rivers, appreciate your arrival. He secured the portal after me. I've prepared all in the post-production space. I trailed him through the exhibit area to a compact chamber ruled by a vast display and tech gear. Event collections piled on racks. The pane viewed a side street. Daylight sifted through grimy panes. May I fetch you tea, Juice? I'm okay. I wasn't okay. Kindly just reveal it. He assented and positioned at his station. I stayed upright behind his seat. Ms. Rivers, I nearly didn't contact you. I debated for weeks, but if I were you, I'd desire awareness. Please grasp, I didn't seek this. My neck constricted. Reveal it. His digits danced over the keys. The display brimmed with scenes from Aisha's nuptials. The right, my daughter preceding the path. Javion awaiting at the podium. Attendees grinning. All lovely. All impeccable. These are the routine captures. Rochelle stated gently. What you observed at the nuptials. What all observed. He navigated to the subsequent directory. 3 hours prior to the rite. I was at the hotel site ahead, assessing lighting, tuning apparatus. There's a balcony surveying the patio. Another navigation. I was capturing via a pane, modifying illumination configs. The scene emerged. My fingers clutched the rear of his seat. Javian, my daughter's spouse, in his attire, not fully fastened, leaned against a lady with blonde locks. Not my daughter, embracing her, his palms in her tresses, her limbs encircling his nape. Not a cordial hug, not a farewell to a past acquaintance. Close, commanding, accustomed. How long prior to the rite? My tone sounded distant. You're sure on the timing? 3 hours before. The info is here. Date, hour, location markers. He displayed a tech panel, digits, chrono, site info. I was at the hotel site ahead assessing lighting via a pane. I snared this unintentionally, but it's authentic. And there are several captures. He advanced. Varied perspectives. Identical vignette. Javian and the blonde lady entwined. In one image, the lady's palm was evident. Left palm against Javian's torso. Marriage band. Silver ring. Gemstone. The lady. I inclined nearer to the display. The marriage band, do you identify her? Rochelle shook his head. I don't recall her from the invitees. I'm deeply sorry, Ms. Rivers. He summoned another scene. This one depicted Javian's countenance plainly. No bewilderment in his demeanor, no inebriated falter, merely assurance, command. A gentleman who comprehended precisely his actions. 3 hours before wedding my daughter. I erect slowly. My legs sensed feeble. The chamber slanted mildly, then stabilized. Can you validate the chronology? Definitely. Validate it. Yes. Rochelle launched another pane, presented tech data I scarcely grasped, electronic imprints, record details, location markers aligning the hotel spot, chronos to the instant. This is investigative grade proof, Ms. Rivers. It would endure anywhere. He extended into his workstation compartment and extracted a tiny memory stick. All is here. Every image, all info, tech records. I created duplicates. He extended it to me. I don't know your intentions with this data, but I think you merit it. I accepted the memory stick, clenched my hand around it. Don't regret, I stated. You acted correctly. The return to Catalina foothills blurred. I clutched the wheel firmly, fixed on the path, but my mind wandered elsewhere. Javian Hayes, portfolio manager, refined, eloquent, prosperous, all I'd hoped for my daughter. Embracing another lady 3 hours before their union, a lady donning a marriage band. Not an error, not hesitation, premeditated, intentional. Why wed Aisha whatsoever? The query orbited my musings like a hawk. Why proceed with a $70,000 union to a lady you betrayed hours prior to the rite? Why utter those pledges? Why beam in those images? What was the purpose? My SUV navigated home autonomously. Catalina foothills avenues, my community, my drive. The memory stick rested in my pouch, weighty as a boulder. I entered my drive just past noon. The residence appeared identical to when I'd departed 3 hours earlier. Same arid greenery, same motion light needing repair, same all. But I wasn't identical. I unlocked the front portal. Terrence lounged over my fabric armchair, soda in grasp, a quiz program blasting. He didn't glance up. Hey, elder lady, snag me another soda since you're mobile. From above, Tiffany's tone. Mama, is that you? I need to discuss funds for the retreat this weekend. I positioned in my own vestibule, memory stick and pouch, and something within me that had flexed for years ultimately fractured. My daughter's spouse unfaithful 3 hours before the nuptials. My other daughter residing in my residence, requesting retreat funds. My daughter's partner commanding me to fetch him soda in my seat in my abode. I sealed the portal behind me with a soft snap. They believed I was the identical woman who'd departed this morning. They erred. Rest was unattainable. I lingered in my study beyond midnight, the memory stick from Rochelle on the workspace beside my portable. Each time I shut my lids, I envisioned those images. Javian's countenance, assured, not remorseful, not perplexed, assured. I accessed my portable and summoned the nuptials expenditure ledger. $70,000 I'd dispersed. Site, cuisine, shooter, blooms, ensemble, all desired. But she demanded one element particularly. Monetary presents, no list, no appliances or dish sets. Mama, we're initiating anew. We require adaptability. Money is more sensible. I deemed her mature, sensible. Now I pondered what I'd truly funded. I seized a notepad and commenced inscribing figures, dates, particulars that abruptly seemed awry. The attendee roster had been 250 individuals, largely my professional contacts, my companions, folks who'd known Aisha since youth, each packet at the gathering. I recollected the present station brimming. Aisha had employed someone expressly to gather them, tally them, inventory them, $50,000 in currency and drafts. She'd informed me the sum the week post-nuptials, chuckling about their fortune. Javion and I are so fortunate, Mama. All were so bountiful. I noted that figure, encircled it. Then I recalled something additional. My associate, Rashawn Kim, had passed Javion a draft directly at the gathering. Welcome to the clan, son. Commence your path correctly. I'd been present. $20,000. Rashawn was affluent, liberal to those he esteemed. Javion had stowed that draft and grinned. Appreciate it, sir. We won't overlook this. $70,000 aggregate from one union for a duo purportedly commencing. Why wed Aisha whatsoever? I fixed on that query on my notepad. If Javion possessed another lady, a lady donning a marriage band, why proceed with a $70,000 right? Why beam in those images? Why accept those pledges, unless the pledges were irrelevant, unless the funds mattered? My gut churned. The evening prolonged. I brewed tea around 4:00 a.m., positioned at my cooking pane, observing the shadowy mountain ridges. Somewhere in Oro Valley, Aisha slumbered beside the gentleman who'd deceived her hours prior to their union. Or perhaps she knew. Perhaps she was indifferent. That notion was harsher than the initial. At 8, I bathed and attired, office casual, slacks, blouse, departed the residence before Tiffany arose, didn't desire inquiries, didn't desire to view Terrence sprawled on my settee. The financial institution opened at 10. I journeyed to the central Tucson outlet, where I conducted my enterprise banking. Familiar ground, secure terrain. The director, Lorraine Thompson, welcomed me in her chamber. We'd collaborated for 20 years. Ms. Rivers, what prompts your visit this morning? I wish to confirm a draft I issued. Nuptials present for my daughter, $25,000. Want to ensure it processed correctly. Lorraine accessed it on her system. Let me check. Yes, here. Shared account for Javion and Aisha Hayes. Draft processed without problems. Shared account, I mentioned nonchalantly. When did they establish that? Lorraine browsed. Appears like 3 months ago. April 15th, 3 months before the nuptials. Not years, not upon engagement, 3 months. They must have accelerated wedding arrangements, I stated, maintaining my tone mild. Youth nowadays. Lorraine beamed. All occurs rapidly. I expressed gratitude and exited. In my SUV, I lingered with the motor active. April 15th. They'd created a shared account expressly for wedding funds, orchestrated it, synchronized it. This wasn't affection. This was strategy. I returned home amid midday traffic, intellect swirling. The residence seemed tranquil when I entered the carport. Terrence's vehicle was present. Aged Accord he declined to upkeep, always soliciting funds to mend it. I ingressed through the carport portal to the cooking area, intended to proceed directly to my study. Then I overheard Tiffany's tone from above. Yeah, Mama seems dubious recently. Her tone drifted from the upper landing. Phone dialogue, level 2 elevated. The manner she invariably conversed. I don't know, altered somehow. But fret not, sis. Terrence and I can prolong this another 7 months effortlessly. By then, she'll yield and purchase us that townhouse just to expel us. I halted in the corridor. Aisha's tone emerged through the device speaker. Tiffany had it amplified, giggling. Brilliant. I've got 3 more months of portraying blissful spouse, then I submit. Half those presents are lawfully mine in Arizona. Javion already consented to 70-30 division. Simplest $50,000 I ever earned. My palm located the partition, balanced myself. Tiffany giggled. And Jav's small companion doesn't even comprehend the scheme. This is flawless. Mama's so occupied feeling pleased about your union. She doesn't perceive anything. Maintain her diverted. Aisha stated, make her believe you require something major. That way, when I solicit the property initial payment, it won't appear extravagant comparatively. Already handling it. Solicited her for a fresh car yesterday. She appeared irritated, but she'll acquiesce. She always does. I retreated, muted, cautious. Each pace calculated until I attained my study, sealed the portal, reclined against it. My palms trembled. 2 daughters, both deceiving, both exploiting me. One scheming separation to pilfer wedding funds, the other occupying my residence, exhausting the timeline until I purchased them off, portraying blissful spouse, simplest $50,000 I ever earned. I'd nearly permitted it. Nearly issued Aisha that $45,000 draft for her property initial payment. Nearly. I positioned at my system, inputted a state attorney, Tucson, Arizona. Tay Washington's name surfaced forth in the outcomes. 30 years expertise, property law, can trusts, resource safeguarding. His chamber had a slot tomorrow at 10:00 a.m. I scheduled the meeting. Then I reclined in my seat and regarded my sealed study portal. Beyond it, Tiffany was likely still on the line. Terrence was likely still anchored on my settee. Both at ease, both assured. They had no notion what approached. I didn't either, not precisely. But tomorrow I'd commence discovering. Tomorrow I transformed into something beyond a purse with a pulse. Tay's chamber was in a steel edifice downtown, 15th level. I arrived 15 minutes ahead and utilized them in the lot, arranging my dossier once more. Nuptials ledger. Memory stick from Rochelle. My annotations from last evening. 4 sheets of chronologies, quotations, sums, proof. The lift ascent felt extended. I'd executed enterprise choices for 40 years, bargained vendor packs, managed staff conflicts, endured financial slumps. This shouldn't sense distinct, but it did. This was my kin, my daughters. The lift portals parted. No, not kin, not any longer. They'd selected that when they converted me into a deal. The waiting area was expert. Marble counter, cushioned seats, modern designs I didn't grasp, but identified as pricey. A lady glanced up from her system. Ms. Rivers, Mr. Washington is prepared for you. His chamber had panoramic views over Tucson, oak workstation, legal volumes along one partition, credentials and certifications in mounts. Tay Washington rose as I ingress. 60s, silvered curls, solid clasp. Ms. Rivers, please sit. May I provide you tea? Yes, plain. He decanted from a pot on the sideboard, passed me a porcelain cup, positioned behind his workstation. I examined your submission. You noted asset concerns and kin issues. Inform me what's transpiring. Begin wherever logical to you. I set my folder on his workstation, unveiled it systematically. A month ago, I funded my daughter's nuptials, $70,000. 4 days ago, the shooter displayed me images of my daughter's spouse with another lady 3 hours before the rite. Yesterday, I unearthed my daughter's scheme this. The union was a fraud to amass monetary presents and divide them. Tay's stylus halted over his notepad. When you say scheme this, you possess proof both your daughter and her spouse planned to separate from the outset. I intercepted my younger daughter on the line with her sibling. Quote, 3 more months and I submit for separation. Half the presents are lawfully mine. Javian already consented to 70-30. Those were my daughter's precise terms. I propelled the memory stick across his workstation. The infidelity images are here, info included. Chronos, location markers, all. Tay inserted the stick into his system, navigated files. His demeanor stayed, but his brow furrowed mildly. And your younger daughter, Tiffany? She's resided in my residence for 5 years. Her partner with her. No charges, no contract, perpetual money requests. I extracted my scripted annotations. Yesterday's call, she informed Aisha they'd extended another 7 months until I acquired them a townhouse. Tay inscribed, encircled particular details, underscored 5 years, and no contract. Ms. Rivers, in Arizona, asset law is explicit. Your residence is your asset. If there's no scripted lease pact and you've specified there isn't, you hold the privilege to initiate removal processes. The typical schedule is 30 days post-scripted alert. And my younger daughter, her partner, they've dwelled there 5 years, sans paying charges. Can they contest this? Not victoriously. Sans a contract, they're basically visitors who've lingered. Arizona law shields asset holders. The 30-day alert is a politeness, not a bargain. Something eased in my core. A politeness, not a bargain. Tay retrieved a dense volume from his rack. Arizona Asset Code, open to a marked portion, rotated it so I could peruse. I bent forward, skimmed the juridical text, dwelling occupancy stipulations, alert durations, removal methods. It's direct, Tay stated. We compose an official alert. You deliver it individually or via registered post. They have 30 days to depart. If they decline, we submit to the judiciary for expulsion. Given the absence of any lease pact, magistrates decide swiftly on these matters. What about the remainder? I glanced up from the volume. My holdings, my enterprise. I don't want them obtaining anything when I'm departed. They've clarified. I'm merely a supply to them. Tay shut the asset code. That's where an unchangeable trust proves beneficial. We shift your holdings, residence, enterprise stakes, reserves into a trust overseen by an expert overseer. You retain oversight during your lifespan, but post-demise, allocation adheres to your directives. It's far tougher to dispute than a basic testament. Tougher to dispute, I reiterated, nearly unfeasible if arranged properly. A testament can be opposed. Folks allege improper sway, cognitive inadequacy, various contentions. A correctly implemented, unchangeable trust founded while you're evidently capable and proceeding voluntarily. That's a distinct juridical criterion wholly. I reclined. How promptly can we commence? Tay grinned faintly. Initial genuine sentiment he'd displayed. Today I'll require you to endorse a commitment pact. My charges for this labor, removal alerts, testament amendment, and full trust formation will be $9,000. The trust labor solely usually costs $7,000. But given the linked essence of your circumstance, I can propose a bundled fee, $9,000. I'd expended $70,000 on a sham union, another $50,000 amassed by my daughter and her collaborator spouse. Dozens of thousands more over 5 years sustaining Tiffany and Terrence. That's suitable. Tay extracted papers from his compartment. Commitment pact, charge framework, schedule, approximation. We'll have the removal alerts composed by Monday morning. You'll deliver them this weekend. I suggest doing it individually so there's no query of acceptance. Post-delivery, the 30-day timer initiates. They must depart by that date or confront juridical expulsion. And the trust? 3 to 4 weeks for total asset shift. I'll collaborate with your monetary entities directly. We'll need present reports for all accounts, asset titles, enterprise possession papers. My aide will synchronize with you on particulars. He propelled the agreement across his workstation. I perused it meticulously. Years of enterprise had instructed me that. Range of labor, charge plans, schedule, all Tay had vowed, formalized in juridical tongue. I endorsed with a firm hand. Tay countersigned, time-stamped it, passed me duplicates. Ms. Rivers, I should note, this will probably ruin your bond with your daughters eternally. Once you deliver those removal alerts, once they uncover the trust arrangement, there's no retracting this. I know, you're ready for that. I contemplated Tiffany's giggle on the line, Aisha's nonchalant harshness portraying blissful spouse. Simplest $50,000 I ever earned. They ruined the bond themselves. I'm just recognizing actuality, Tay assented. Then we're aligned. I'll contact you Monday morning when the papers are prepared. We clasped anew, extended this time. Something transferred between us. Expert esteem, perhaps. Comprehension. I departed his chamber with duplicates of the agreement, schedule summary, trust arrangement, overview, juridical papers that signified one straightforward thing. I was reclaiming my existence. The lift descent was swifter than the ascent. Pull assisting. In the lot, I lingered in my SUV with the agreement duplicates on the adjacent seat. Removal methods, testament alteration overview, trust arrangement outline. My device vibrated. Message from Aisha. Mama, did you ponder the initial payment? We truly need a response. The property won't linger eternally. I regarded the communication for an extended instant. $45,000 for a property she'd occupy for 3 months before submitting for separation. I erased the message sans replying. Then I ignited the SUV and directed home. Tiffany and Terrence would be there at ease and assured, anticipating no alteration. They had 30 days remaining to savor that assurance. I had 30 days to ready for conflict. The packets arrived Monday morning. Tay's sender address, dense stationery, formal stamps. I positioned them on my workspace and regarded them for much of the day. By dusk, I was prepared. I could hear Tiffany and Terrence in the family room. Terrence's tone drifted out, enthusiastic, lively. Another plot, another plea. I gathered the packets and proceeded down the corridor. They lounged on the sofa, relaxed. Terrence waving his hands, Tiffany agreeing. My screen, my sofa, my space. And micro-distilleries are booming these days, Terrence was declaring. Tucson scene is ideal. We'd require around $35,000 to launch. Your mama would witness gains within a year. Simple. Tiffany chuckled. She'll agree. She always does. Just present it as supporting kin, and she'll issue the funds. I entered the area. They glanced up, grinning, anticipating no issue. I positioned the packets on the end table amid them. What's this? Tiffany seized hers, confused. Mama, we're discussing Terrence's distillery concept. Formal removal directive. You have 30 days to secure alternate lodging. The statement struck like pebbles in calm waters, waves of quiet expanding outward. Tiffany ripped open her packet, scanned the title. Her complexion paled. Have you gone mad, elder lady? This is our residence. This is my abode. You can't simply eject us as if we're outsiders. Terrence rose, advanced toward me, hands balled, visage flushing. We're kin. Tiffany's sobs commenced precisely on cue. Mama, what are you undertaking? I'm your child. How can you expel us? I regarded her steadily. You haven't contributed charges in 5 years. You don't honor me. You view me as a bank. Time to mature. This is ludicrous. Terrence edged nearer, encroaching my area. Old coercion method. Everyone will learn what sort of mother you are, expelling your own offspring. The directive is lawful. 30 days. I recommend you begin gathering items. Tiffany clutched my limb. Mama, please. We can resolve this. We'll cover charges. We'll... I detached her grasp, softly yet resolutely, pivoted toward the passage. You'll rue this. Terrence's words trailed me. You'll rue this. I proceeded to my study, sealed the portal, secured it with a distinct snap. Behind me, turmoil unleashed. Tiffany's howling, Terrence's yelling, furnishings dragging. I positioned at my workspace and attended. Their distress was symphony. 10 minutes elapsed. The yelling diminished into fervent murmurs. Then Tiffany's tone anew. Elevated. Telephone dialogue. I leaned my ear against the portal. Gave us removal documents. 30 days. Interval. Aisha's replying. I don't comprehend what occurred. She was distant like we were unfamiliar. Extended interval. We must act. Aisha's tone resonated through the device amplifier. Composed, tactical. I couldn't discern terms, but the inflection was evident. Scheming phase. Okay. Yes, tomorrow. Bring Javion. We'll sort this. Additional muttering. Then Terrence's tone subdued but poisonous. She's going to lament this. I retreated to my workspace and accessed my portable. Tay had dispatched files that afternoon. Trust establishment forms, resource safeguarding plan. They believed this concerned the residents. They lacked awareness I was shielding all. My device vibrated. Message from Aisha. Mama, Tiffany contacted me. We must converse. Arriving tomorrow with Javion. This has escalated excessively. I perused it doubly. They were reassembling, synchronizing, poised to initiate their retaliation. Permit them to arrive. I accessed a schedule and noted the date. Day 1 of 30. The timer had initiated. In the family room, Tiffany was still weeping. Terrence was striding. I could detect his footfalls. To and fro, to and fro. They'd resided here for 5 years, Son donating a solitary cent. 5 years of handling my home like a resort. 5 years of requests and insolence and presumptions. 30 days remaining to savor that advantage. I examined Tay's trust files again. 3 to 4 weeks until completion. The chronology would be close, but it would function. By the moment they grasped the complete extent of what I'd accomplished, it would be too tardy to halt. Another message from Aisha. We'll rectify this. Don't fret. She wasn't messaging me. She was messaging Tiffany. But Tiffany must have displayed her my digits too, since the third communication arrived. Mama, I know you're distressed about something. Let's discuss like grown-ups tomorrow. Discuss like grown-ups. The lady intending to separate from her spouse in 3 months to pilfer wedding presents desired to discuss like grown-ups. I deactivated my device. Tomorrow they'd arrive with their display. Anxious daughter, tactful son-in-law, logical contentions, sentimental coercion. I'd viewed the film previously. I knew its conclusion. Beyond my study portal, the residents ultimately grew silent. Tiffany and Terrence had likely ascended to strategize or sob or sip. I didn't concern which. I unveiled a journal and commenced documenting, recording the dusk. Their responses, their menaces, Terrence's hostility, Tiffany's sobs, all Tay might require if this concluded in tribunal. The stylus glided evenly across the sheet, objective, thorough, impartial. Somewhere amid the 5th year of their occupancy, I'd ceased being a mother and become a dispenser. Now, I was neither. I was an asset holder asserting her lawful privileges, and I had 29 days remaining to ready for whatever ensued. Sunday morning I descended to discover Tiffany in her robe lounged across the sofa. Mama? Her tone was feeble, dramatic. I can't rise, my pulse is pounding, the tension from this removal. I believe you should summon a physician. Terrence lingered nearby, limbs folded, guarding posture, both observing for my reaction. I strode past them to the cooking area. "There's flu remedy in the cupboard," I uttered without halting. Behind me, quiet. Then Tiffany's exasperated sigh. I decanted tea and transported it to my study, sealed the portal. Monday afternoon, Terrence located me in the carport, obstructed the entrance with his frame. You know what folks will utter, right? Hostile inflection, countenance too near mine. That you expelled your own daughter, your expectant daughter. Tiffany wasn't expectant, just another fabrication. Your enterprise associates, your community allies, they'll all comprehend what sort of woman you truly are. I verified my timepiece. The removal is lawful. You have 26 days left. Now shift. He didn't. We positioned there for 10 seconds. 20. His mandible laboring, fists balled. Ultimately, he retreated. I entered my SUV and journeyed to the boutique outlet. Remained there for 3 hours, assessing stock, conversing with supervisors, being anywhere but residents. When I returned that dusk, a packet rested on my island. Scripted title, offer. I unveiled it. Terrence's script, detailed roster. Venture prospect, micro distillery alliance. Preliminary funds needed $55,000. Conditions, Tiffany and Terrence stay in occupancy. Remit nominal charges, $600 monthly. Reimburse venture within 6 years. $55,000 elevated from the $35,000 he'd cited Saturday night. Despair escalating the figures. I perused the entire. 2 sheets. Fiscal estimates derived from nowhere. Assurances of yields. Pledges of kin accord. At the base, this resolves all. We remain, you gain. Kin remains united. I creased it, proceeded to the family room where they sat awaiting, and returned it. No, Tiffany's countenance collapsed. "Mama, we're attempting to negotiate." "No," I reiterated and reverted to my study with my supper. Through the partition, I detected their aggravated murmurs, allegations, incredulity, the noise of utensils clanging. Tuesday and Wednesday elapsed likewise. Tiffany vacillated between sobs and quiet. Terrence swung between menaces and haggling. I upheld my regimen. Labor, home, study, meals, solo. Their existence became ambient sound. Thursday dusk, Aisha appeared. She'd rung that afternoon. "Mama, we're arriving for supper." Javion and I, we must converse as kin. Not a plea, a declaration. They reached at 7. Aisha bore shopping sacks. "We're preparing tonight. You labor too intensely." Javion beamed. "Solid clasp. Janelle, hope you don't object us merely appearing." Aisha was concerned. Kin should bolster each other through challenging periods. They overtook my cooking area. Aisha diced produce. Javion arranged the board. Tiffany surfaced from above. Cosmetics impeccable. No indication of her ailment. Terrence materialized, recently bathed, portraying the sensible grown-up, and mediation meticulously orchestrated. We positioned for the repast they'd readied. Salmon, quinoa, greens, fine display. Aisha decanted juice. Javion initiated chit-chat about his finance labor. Everyone enacted ordinarily. Then Aisha transitioned. "Mama, this residence must be much to oversee solo. All these chambers, the landscaping, the upkeep. Have you contemplated something compact? A pleasant loft?" I sliced my salmon, masticated gradually. Javion resumed the narrative. "The housing market is robust currently. Properties in Catalina foothills vend swiftly. You could obtain premium value. Assist establish everyone comfortably." There it was. Isha contacted the framed image on the end stand. Repositioned it. Possessive motion. "We'd aid you relocate naturally. And whatever earnings you acquired. It would be pleasant to distribute with kin. Assist Tiffany and Terrence commence. Assist Javion and me with our property initial payment. Everyone profits. The residents. They desired the residents' vending funds, not legacy someday. Now, the insight snapped into position with flawless lucidity. "Mama, I'm merely stating you're aging. Wouldn't it be simpler to possess something controllable? Less accountability." I placed down my utensil, regarded each of them. Aisha, Javion, Tiffany, Terrence. 4 countenances, 4 distinct disguises, 1 objective. "I'm not vending my residence," Aisha chortled softly. Undercurrent beneath. "Mama, no one's compelling you. We're just anxious." I rose. "Appreciate your anxiety." "I'm fine." "Good evening." The grade of my seat, the stride to my study, the portal ceiling. Behind me, stunned quiet, then pressing murmurs. I seized my device and dialed Tay's mobile. I must meet you tonight. It's pressing. I'll be at the chamber in 40 minutes. I lingered until I detected their vehicles depart. Aisha's Audi, then Terrence's Accord trailing, synchronizing, scheming their subsequent action. I grasped my keys and journeyed downtown. Tay's chamber was illuminated, 15th level pane shining. He greeted me in the foyer. Their aligning tactic to obtain my holdings, I uttered as we ascended the lift. The removal ignited something. Now they want me to vend the residence, divide the earnings. Tonight's supper was surveillance. In his chamber, Tay extracted fresh papers. Then we expedite the trust establishment. All, residence, enterprise, reserves, shifts to expert oversight. You retain complete command during your lifespan. But post-demise, allocation adheres to your precise directives. They can't contest it. Can't control it. How swiftly can we proceed? I'll initiate forms tomorrow. We'll also alter your financial institution recipient designations promptly. Eliminate your daughters wholly. $6,000 for the trust establishment, but it's valuable every cent. Proceed. He accessed forms on his system, recipient alteration approvals, trust framework summaries. I endorsed all. Digital endorsements observed juridical. 50 minutes later, I departed with duplicates of all. The return felt altered, buoyant somehow. I arrived near 1 a.m. The residence was shadowy except for the family room light. Inside, Tiffany and Terrence had retired. Vacant juice tumblers on my end table. They'd likely expended the dusk plotting with Aisha on amplifier. Permit them plot. I possessed duplicates of the trust forms in my satchel. Tay would initiate asset shifts tomorrow. Within 4 weeks, all I'd constructed would be safeguarded. My device displayed 4 missed rings. Aisha, no communications. She sensed something had altered tonight, perhaps perceived that supper dialogue disclosed excessively. I contemplated their display. Javian's mediator role, Aisha's proposal to vend the residence. Everyone profits, everyone except me. They'd erred. Deemed I was a frail elder woman they could coerce into yielding my life's labor. I was finished being frail. 26 days until Tiffany and Terrence departed. 4 weeks until the trust was completed. They had that duration to relish sensing like they still possessed influence. I had that duration to ensure they'd never coerce me again. 3 weeks had elapsed since I'd delivered the removal directive. 15 days lingered. I arranged the dining board myself that dusk. 5 placements. The fine porcelain I hadn't utilized since my daughters were youths. Fabric serviettes, liquid glasses. At my placement, I positioned a folder face downward. The folder held 9 printed snapshots. Javian and a blonde lady, chronostamped, location marked. 3 hours before his union to my daughter. I'd summoned everyone, both daughters, Javian and Terrence. A kin supper, I'd stated. They arrived individually, Aisha and Javian initially, 20 minutes ahead. I detected them in the family room, murmured dialogue with Tiffany and Terrence, aligning, scheming their tactic. I summoned them to the board. The strain was instant. They positioned, traded looks, anticipated. I presented grilled tilapia and roots. Basic repast, nothing ornate. This wasn't about cordiality. We dined in near quiet for 10 minutes. Utensils grating dishes, liquid glasses elevated, the noise of compelled ordinariness. Then Aisha commenced. Mama, we've all been conversing. The circumstance with Tiffany, it's taxing for everyone. Perhaps it's time to contemplate streamlining the residence, the enterprise. It's much for one individual. Javian assented, backing. Janelle, no one's stating you can't manage it. We just desire to assist. Vending at the appropriate moment in this market. We could assist you organize all. Make it effortless. Tiffany bent forward, soft tone. Mama, we're anxious about you. All solitary here. Wouldn't a pleasant loft be superior? Less upkeep, less tension. I placed down my utensil, extended for the folder. Before we proceed, there's something you should view. Aisha retrieved it, wary. What is this? I took a sip of liquid. Snapshots from your nuptials. Particularly intriguing are the captures of Javian with a blonde lady 3 hours before the ritual on the hotel balcony. Javian's countenance blanched. That's not Aisha unveiled the folder. I observed her gaze traverse the initial scene, then the subsequent. Her demeanor solidified into granite. Where did you acquire these? I disregarded the query. I also intercepted a telephone dialogue between you and Tiffany. Let me cite. 3 more months and I submit for separation. Half the presents are lawfully mine. Javian already consented to 70-30 division. Those were your precise terms, Aisha. Tiffany's palm darted to her lips. Terrence half ascended. You eavesdropped on us. You had no privilege. I elevated one palm, hand outward. Cease. Terrence positioned. I've established an unchangeable trust. My residence, my enterprise, my reserves, all is now shielded. After my demise, you'll obtain the minimal mandated by Arizona law, not a penny additional. Aisha's tone escalated. You can't do this. We're your kin. I rose, propelled my seat back gradually, creased my serviette beside my dish. Tiffany and Terrence have 15 days to locate new lodging. This discussion is concluded. Mama, Aisha rose too. You're ruining this kin. Over what? Some misinterpretation? I halted at the dining entrance. Didn't pivot. I'm not ruining anything. I'm safeguarding what I constructed from individuals who viewed me as a supply, not a mother. I proceeded down the corridor to my study, sealed the portal, secured it. Behind me, voices exploded. Aisha yelling. Javian's protective objections. Tiffany sobbing. Terrence's furious oaths. I positioned at my workspace and accessed my portable. Email from Tay dispatched an hour prior. Trust papers prepared for ultimate endorsement. Can you arrive tomorrow morning? I inscribed back 10:00 a.m. From the dining, the dispute persisted. Aisha insisting I emerge. Terrence menacing to force the portal. Vacant menace. Tiffany's weeps drifting down the passage. They could dispute all evening. It wouldn't alter anything. The snapshots were on the board. The verity was articulated. The trust was nearly whole. 15 days until Tiffany and Terrence departed my residence. However long it required for Aisha and Javin's deceitful union to implode independently, I'd expended 3 weeks observing them control, plot, align, observing them handle my home like their domain and my bank like their asset. Now they knew I'd been observing in return, and I'd already triumphed. Tay's chamber at 10 the next morning. Monique Lee was already present, an expert in legacy planning he'd enlisted to complete the trust. Ms. Rivers, she clasped my hand. 60s, proficient, streamlined forms dispersed across the meeting table like a juridical bulwark. All's prepared for your endorsement. I positioned and commenced endorsing. Sheet after sheet, initials here, complete endorsement there, shift of primary dwelling, enterprise stakes, financial accounts, investment holdings, all relocating into the unchangeable trust framework. This shifts your residence to trust oversight, Monique clarified. Upon your demise, allocation adheres to these directives. Minimal juridical stipulation to direct kin, residue to the philanthropies you chose, and my daughters can't contest this. They can attempt, her tone was assured, but unchangeable trusts are exceedingly challenging to reverse. This is as shielded as holdings can be. I endorse the ultimate sheet. Completed. 40 years of labor. Safeguarded. I journeyed home sensing buoyant than I had in months. The subsequent 13 days became a seminar in mental combat. Day 2, I discovered my tea brewer fragmented on the cooking floor. Terrence reclined at the island, journal extended before him. Oh, that he dismissed. Slid from my grasp this morning. Mishaps occur. I cleared the shards without remark. 11 days, I uttered, hurling the fragments in the waste. Day 4, I detected Tiffany conversing with Ms. Ramirez over the rear barrier, our adjacent. I observed from the pane. Tiffany patted her eyes with cloth, theatrical motions. She's expelling us with nowhere to proceed. I don't comprehend what's overtaken her. Ms. Ramirez appeared uneasy. I'm certain you and your mother will resolve matters, dear. I don't know. She's transformed. It's like she's not the identical individual. I pivoted from the pane. Permit her enact for the adjacents. It altered nothing. Day 7. Aisha arrived with a lady bearing a notepad. Mama, this is Dr. Ellis. She's a therapist. We deemed it might assist to converse. I stayed upright, limbs crossed. I didn't consent to any dialogue. The lady beamed expertly. Ms. Rivers, your daughter is anxious about recent conduct alterations, abrupt choices, severing kin. These can occasionally signify underlying matters that halt. I regarded Aisha. Out both of you now. Mama, she's attempting to aid. If you just attend, this is my residence. You're departing. They departed. Day 10. I returned from the outlet to discover my study portal marginally open. I always sealed it fully. On my workspace, the trust papers sat precisely where I'd placed them. Nearly precisely. The edge was curved differently. Someone had perused them. That dusk, Tiffany was more silent than usual. Terrence kept glancing at her. They knew now. Truly new. The trust was authentic. The funds were vanished. Day 12. Tiffany rapped on my study portal. Afternoon. Terrence wasn't with her. Mama, can we converse? Just us. I motioned to the seat. She positioned, cloth already in grasp, eyes crimson. I've been contemplating all. You were correct about Terrence, about how we've been residing. He's not a positive impact on me. I perceive that now. I anticipated. I've committed awful errors. I'm soliciting, imploring for your pardon. Another opportunity. I could transform. I could be the daughter you merit. The display was impeccable, quivering tone, susceptible stance, bending forward, every coercion technique in her repertoire. I permitted the quiet extend, observed her, truly observed her. If you genuinely grasped your errors, Tiffany, you wouldn't have arrived here soliciting pardon as a deal. You'd have arrived sans anticipating anything reciprocally. But you're soliciting for the residents, for funds, for me to alter my mind about the trust. No, I just desire you desire me to believe Terrence tainted you, that you're a casualty. But I intercepted you on the line with Aisha scheming this. You were chuckling, both of you, about coercing me. Her countenance altered. Sobs ceased. Tone went rigid. Fine. Fine. You desire to be solitary? Be solitary. But don't anticipate us to concern what befalls you. I didn't ascend, didn't respond. 8 days, Tiffany. Commence gathering. She pivoted and exited. The portal banged firm enough to shake the structure. Through the ceiling, I detected her pounding upstairs, Terrence's tone querying. Then Tiffany's irate reply, terms muffled, but inflection clear. She was informing him it hadn't succeeded, that I wouldn't yield, that they needed to genuinely locate a unit. Actuality ultimately penetrating. I accessed my schedule, 8 days until the removal deadline. Tay had already organized for the constable if they declined to depart willingly. My device displayed a message from Aisha. I hope you're content. You've ruined this kin. I erased it, sans replying. The trust paper rested in my workspace compartment, endorsed, certified, submitted. Every holding I had expended 40 years constructing, shielded. The residence was mine. The enterprise was secure. My testament mirrored my selections, not their anticipations. 8 more days of their existence. 8 more days of mental combat. I no longer sensed. Then quiet, expanse, tranquility. For the initial time in 5 years, I'd possess my residence back. For the initial time in months, I'd possess my existence back. The 30th day. I entered my drive at 11 that morning. The constable's transport arrived 40 seconds after me. Tay's vehicle trailed. We'd aligned this official, juridical, no space for contention. Officer Hernandez emerged. Late 40s, seasoned, expert. We'd conversed on the line thrice. He comprehended the circumstance. Ms. Rivers, he clasped my hand. Let's accomplish this. Tay joined us, satchel in grasp. All's in sequence. The removal directive was duly delivered. The 30 days have passed. They're formally intruding now. We proceeded to my front portal, united, my residence, my asset. But I rapped anyway. 3 resolute raps. Quiet. Then Terrence's tone subdued. Depart. You can't do this. Hernandez advanced, palm resting on his service strap. Sir, this is Officer Hernandez with the Pima County Constable's Office. I'm here to implement a lawful removal command. Open the portal now, or I'll be compelled to open it myself. That becomes unlawful intrusion. Your selection. An extended pause, murmured dispute inside. Then the portal creaked open. Tiffany's countenance appeared. Crimson eyes. Defiant demeanor attempting to conceal alarm. Hernandez propelled the portal broader. Ingress expertly. Tay and I trailed. The family room resembled a conflict area. Garments dispersed everywhere. Takeout containers piled on my end table. Soda tins. Disorder. But no gathered crates. Nothing prepared. You people weren't intending on departing, were you? Hernandez surveyed the space, inscribing notes. All right, you have 2 hours to amass personal possessions. That means attire, individual items, no furnishings, no installations. The timer initiates now. 2 hours? Tiffany's tone elevated. We can't conceivably. You've had 30 days, ma'am. 2 hours is liberal. Terrence surfaced from the cooking area, unkempt, furious. This is absurd. We have privileges. Tay's tone sliced through. You have 0 privileges to this asset. No contract, no rental pact, no possession. This is the ultimate day. Terrence regarded me. You're really undertaking this. Your own daughter. I didn't reply. Didn't necessitate. Hernandez verified his device. 2 hours commencing now. What ensued was disorder and delayed motion. Tiffany frantically cramming a tire into refuse sacks, weeping sporadically. Terrence hurling items into a tote with hostile motions, murmuring imprecations under his breath. After all we did for her, Terrence uttered loudly enough for me to detect. Residing in this vast spot solitary like a hoarder, Hernandez's tone sharpened. Sir, this is Ms. Rivers' asset. I recommend you concentrate on gathering and retain remarks to yourself. I positioned in the entrance, observed, didn't assist, didn't articulate, just witnessed them disassembling their unauthorized occupancy item by item. Tiffany attempted capturing my gaze multiple times. The coercion manual was still accessible, but I committed every sheet to memory, knew every ploy, wasn't succumbing to any of it. 2 hours later, they transported the final sacks to their vehicle, an aged hatchback, battered, struggling monetarily already. At the vehicle, Tiffany pivoted. Final effort. You'll lament this. When you're solitary and require aid, don't come weeping to us. I met her gaze, composed, assured. I won't. They journeyed away, Tiffany's vehicle vanishing down the avenue, taking their existence, their requests, their coercion with them. I positioned in my threshold, my residence, genuinely mine for the initial time in 5 years. Hernandez passed me forms. They're formally out. If they return sans permission, ring promptly. That's unlawful intrusion. Appreciate you, officer. Tay clasped my hand. Well accomplished, Janelle. Most individuals yield before this juncture. You maintain the boundary. After they departed, I proceeded through the residence gradually. Family room where Terrence had lounged, cooking area where Tiffany had demanded funds, upstairs where they had occupied the spare chamber like permanent nobility. Vacant now, all of it, mine. That dusk, my device rang. Aisha. I contemplated not replying, but inquisitiveness prevailed. Yes, I hope you're gratified. Her tone was frost. You ruined this kin. All we possessed. Was it valuable? I regarded the kin image on the rack. Old snapshot, different era, different individuals. I didn't ruin the kin, Aisha. I ceased permitting it to ruin me. Quiet. Then her tone fractured mildly. You've transformed. I don't even recognize who you are anymore. I'm the identical individual. I just ceased feigning I didn't observe being exploited. We'll see how long you endure solitary. You'll require us ultimately. She disconnected. I placed the device down. 4 days later, it vibrated with a message from an unfamiliar digit. Javian, I perused it positioned in my cooking area. Janelle, I viewed the snapshots. I know you know. Look, Aisha knew about my liaison too. This entire union was a setup. We're separating anyway. I'm soliciting you to remain out of it. I can make it valuable your while. $12K to permit this unfold quietly. I perused it once, erased it, obstructed the digit. Aisha had known about the infidelity throughout. The whole union was a fraud from both sides. They had orchestrated it, united, amassed the funds, intended to divide it, and now Javian desired to compensate me to remain silent. $12,000 to permit their deceitful separation advanced smoothly. I surveyed my family room, the furnishings I'd selected, the quiet I'd merited, the expanse I'd reclaimed. 5 years ago, I'd opened my portal to Tiffany and Terrence temporarily, permitted them overtake my home, my tranquility, my existence. I'd funded a nuptials that was a commerce deal, issued drafts that supported plots, believed I was aiding kin when I was financing my own exploitation. Now the residence was vacant except for me. Tiffany and Terrence were vanished. Aisha had severed contact. Javian was dispatching desperate inducements I wouldn't honor with replies. I proceeded to the pain. The sun was descending over Catalina foothills, tinting the desert amber. My residence, my existence, my selections. They deemed they'd triumphed when they relocated in. When they controlled, when they plotted, they'd been erroneous. I had late September. I positioned on my patio with morning tea, observing the sun ascend over Catalina foothills. The atmosphere was already balmy, but up here on the slope a gust rendered it tolerable, silent, utterly silent, except for wildlife and the remote buzz of the town below. 4 weeks since the removal, 4 weeks of residing solo in my residence, my genuine residence, not a structure I shared with begrudging occupants who called me mama. The tea brewer functioned. Terrence had demolished my old one in a spasm of passive hostile fury. I'd substituted it the day after they departed. Minor thing, but it signified. All operated now. The remote remained where I positioned it. My armchair in the family room held solely me. The cooler contained provisions I'd purchased, consumed at my own rhythm sans someone demanding I fund their provisions. Simple things, revolutionary things. Tiffany had rung thrice this week. I'd permitted all go to voicemail, erased the communications sans attending. She and Terrence had located an inexpensive unit on the fringes. Terrence was laboring some standard occupation. They were resolving it. Sans my funds, sans my residence. Good. Aisha had rung once too, 3 weeks ago, soliciting funds. I require assistance with an initial payment after the separation. Just $25,000. You're my mother. I'd uttered one term. No. Then disconnected. No clarification, no remorse, just limit. She and Javian had separated as schemed. The tribunal had navigated through their wedding present circumstance. Both forfeited funds to attorneys. Ironic equity. They'd plotted to amass currency, concluded expending it on juridical charges to partition what lingered. The courier arrived mid-morning. I fetched the correspondence, transported it back to the patio. A packet from Tay's firm, dense stationery. I unveiled it with my opener. Ultimate trust papers. All submitted, all secured. Ms. Rivers, the correspondence commenced. All trust papers have been completed and submitted with the state. Your enterprise stakes have been shifted to trust oversight. Legacy allocation directives are secured. You retain complete command during your lifespan with unbreakable safeguarding thereafter. I perused it doubly, then placed it aside. Whole. Juridical bulwark constructed. Legacy shielded. Existence reclaimed. My device rested on the table beside the piano tutorial volume I'd been progressing through. Thursday, I had my 4th session. I'd always desired to perform. 40 years of intending to someday, when there was duration now. Saturday, I volunteered at the Elder Hub doing restorations. My boutique expertise beneficial, aiding individuals who required it, who valued it, who didn't request it as entitled privilege. The device rang. Unfamiliar digit. I nearly didn't reply, then did. This is Janelle, Ms. Rivers. A man's tone familiar. This is Rochelle Simmons, the shooter from your daughter's nuptials. I hope you don't object me ringing. I've been contemplating you, pondering how matters resolved. Rochelle, the individual who'd displayed me the verity. Rochelle, no, I don't object at all. Actually, I'm pleased you rang. Relief in his tone. I wasn't certain if I should. That day in my workshop displaying you those snapshots, I've contemplated it so many instances. I hope I acted correctly. You did. You absolutely did. Those snapshots altered all. You provided me verity when everyone else was supplying me deceptions. And how are matters now if you don't object me querying? I surveyed over the foothills, the morning illumination, the tranquility. Matters are good, Rochelle. For the initial time in a very extended time, perhaps years, matters are truly good. I'm so pleased to hear that. You merit tranquility. I astonished myself. Would you like to acquire tea sometime? I'd like to appreciate you properly and honestly. It would just be pleasant to converse. He was beaming. I could detect it. I'd like that. How about next week? Next week sounds ideal. After we disconnected, I lingered on the patio. Tea with Rochelle next week. A piano session on Thursday. Volunteer shift at the Elder Hub. Saturday, enterprise review. Friday, existence, a routine constructed around what I desired, not what others requested. I contemplated the odyssey, the shooter's contact that fragmented my delusions, the proof, the intercepted dialogue, the attorney meetings, the removal directive, the kin supper, where I'd exposed all bare, the ultimate days of mental combat, the constable at my portal, each stride essential, each limit vital. My daughters deemed I'd ruined the kin, that I'd selected isolation over affection. They were erroneous. I'd selected myself over their variant of affection that appeared suspiciously like larceny. I'd selected tranquility over duty. I'd selected verity over comfortable deceptions. The sun ascended higher, warming the patio. I completed my tea. Inside, the piano anticipated. Existence anticipated, a future constructed on honest bases, not coercive mire. Tiffany would ring again. I'd permit it go to voicemail again. Terrence might message. I'd erase it. Aisha might request. I'd refuse. They were learning to resolve their own issues. I was learning to permit them. The trust papers rested on my workspace inside, every holding shielded, every choice mine. I rose and proceeded to the patio balustrade, surveyed over Catalina foothills. My home, my vista, my tranquility. Solitary, yes, but liberated. And for the initial time in years, perhaps the initial time ever, that was precisely what I desired. The subsequent chapter was mine to inscribe. T was someone who didn't desire anything except dialogue. Piano melodies created for my own pleasure. Restorations performed because I chose to aid, not because someone requested it. Existence lived on my terms. Equity wasn't vengeance, it was safeguarding. It was limits. It was uttering no when no was the sole rational response. I'd preserved myself, and that was valuable all. If you enjoyed this tale, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts on this story in the comments. To hear the next tale, click on the box on the left. Thank you for watching.